Okay, so in this video we're checking out the new AMAX Performante 1303 motor. This here happens to be the 7500 kV version. I've got the 5000 kV version installed here on this toothpick, and this is actually a rebuild of the Foo Spartan, a video I did like, I don't know, maybe like earlier this week I think, or maybe a week ago. Depends on when I released the video. It was based on this frame here, and it was using 65 millimeters or 30 or 2.5 inch propellers. And you can check out that video if you want to. Essentially, I just did a frame transfer. I did have to move the video transmitter up from the bottom. So in this frame here, the video transmitter was in this little TPU part here, and then it was in this layer here underneath there, just by the battery. And so on the frame I used, which is a baby tooth frame, which you've seen before in on my channel. I just use this frame, and then I move the video transmitter from the bottom, and yeah, you can see the wires right there. Instead of it going under the flight controller, it's going on top of the flight controller, and you can see it's right there between the flight controller and the canopy. The receiver is actually above the VTX, and in order to accommodate for that spacing there for the VTX to go, I added these 2mm spacers that use up this screw space here that was previously used by that 3D printed part where the VTX was held before, and that was it. I didn't use any new parts other than that. I just got these spacers and moved the VTX to the top. I obviously desoldered all the motors and not using those props anymore, so these 1106 motors are now gone and desoldered. And I just soldered on the 1303 motors right there. Very, very easy. Literally took 10 minutes to put this new model together. And you can see here on the frame. And here's the motor. I already posted a bunch of these photos to my Instagram, so if you want to see closer images, details of what the motor looks like, go check out the Instagram, but here it is again. If you want to see the windings and everything. 2mm shaft. So you will need the gem fan props with 2mm holes for the shaft, and this has a M2 set screw on the bottom instead of a C-clip, so pretty light actually compared to the T-Motor 1303 motors that I reviewed like a couple weeks ago. I think that they're, if I remember right, by a little over a gram lighter than the T-Motor version, so you're saving like 4 to 6 grams of weight in total in using this 1303 over the T-Motor 1303. And then comparatively in terms of the weight, let me just show you. So this is the traditional kebab toothpick here with the TP3 using the FPV Cycle 1303 5000 kV motors. I don't remember the exact weight of this. I'll stick it up on the screen here. I'll go look it up, but I think this is still heavier than the AMAX motor. But then this overall build here, this is everything with the receiver and props all together, and this is coming in at 62.3 grams, and then my little frame transfer build here with the AMAX motors is coming in at 56.4 grams, so it's actually a fair amount lighter. It's probably because I'm using a unibody frame instead of the TP3 frame with the extra screws and stuff here, as you can see in the arms. So that's probably a big difference. The motors are probably heavier. I'm using XM Plus receiver on this one, although the camera is heavier on this one with the Nano. I think there's a Nano 2 camera here, and much heavier canopy. So if I use this same canopy here and this camera, I probably could shave another 5 grams off of this one, so it'd be closer to the 50 grams. Well, let's see. I might try that. If you guys are interested in that kind of video, let me know. I could make this even lighter and see if the performance is even faster. It's already pretty fast. This setup is actually pretty impressive compared to the T-Motor and even the FPV Cycle. The motor has a lot of kick, at least based on the previous testing I've done on other 1303 motors. But yeah, I'll just get right into the narrated flight footage. You guys can check out the link for the pricing on the motor and the specs. I think overall it's a nice light motor. I think the way that they have designed this bell, I think some people were joking that it kind of looks like a beer keg. I think this bell is a lot lighter, and I think that combined with a light prop This will basically spin up really fast. So it's going to have a lot of low end torque and really good control. And I think that's the big difference between, in terms of the weight, between this and some other 1303 motors. They reduce the weight here of the bell, which allows this to control the prop a lot better at lower RPMs. And if you want a higher RPM or you want more top end, go for the 7500 kV and maybe go to two bladed and then probably put a throttle cut on that, because I think that might blow some ESCs. It's going to draw a lot of amps. So, I may experiment with that later. But this is interesting that this is a lot lighter. I think that's where they shave the weight off, is in the bell. And that, I think, does have that sort of feel of having a lot more controllability in the low end of the throttle, which I think also helps the PID tune as well. So I ran the same PID tune on this one I did on the T-Motor build. It's a basic tune. I made just a couple of adjustments to that. I basically increased the P&D gains and also the feed forward a little bit. So it's nothing really special. I'll link that down in the description as well if you want to see a line dump for this particular setup. If you just buy the FUs and then any type of like 3-inch frame with a whoop style mounting here, 25 millimeters basically. You could get the tooth, the baby tooth, the tooth TP3 frame. There's a whole bunch of clone frames on Banggood if you don't want to ship from the US, for example. I know a lot of you guys prefer to buy from overseas companies instead of the US companies. So there's a ton of 3-inch frames out there that you could use and swap this over to and just solder on the motors, and you're good to go. You're going to have a nice build with this motor. Anyway, here's the flight footage, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. All right, so I'm going to fly close here. Let you guys hear the props. Got the same tune that I've got on here for the last 1303 motor I reviewed, the T-Motor 1303. This thing's peppier, seems like. Maybe it's because the motors are lighter. Running a 3S450, standard battery for this sort of setup. Whew. Got some go. Ooh, watch out for the pole. And it sounds like it's faster, but I think it's not as fast as the two-bladed setup on the T-Motor 1303. Definitely has a lot of pickup and a lot of thrust, but top end speed seems to be a little bit less, especially when I go totally full throttle. You can see there, it's not quite as fast on a two-bladed prop, but it's got more low-end punch out. So right at the beginning of the punch out, it picks up speed very quick Trying to get used to this throttle curve. It's a bit tricky. It's a little different, but not bad. It's actually really fast. But where you have control of the speed is important, especially when you're trying to make a lot of turns like you would do in a race. Oof. I don't think I'll have as good of control. So it's got like a little bit too much power in the low end. I'm already at 10.5 volts, but like 4 minutes and 4.5 minutes of flight here. 10.8 volts. Obviously, if you're just cruising around, it's got a lot of efficiency as well. And then a 3-blade setter might be better for acro. Yeah, it's got a lot of, I think I need to reduce the rates on the roll axis, actually. It's got way too much rate on the roll axis. All right, now I'm coming up to the low battery warning. Oh, yeah, now the battery is definitely dying here. 9.3, I'm ready for a landing.